I visited one of my favorite works, Meisho Edo Hyakkei, 100 Famous Views of Edo by Hiroshige Ando to see how the scene looks today. Ayasegawa River and Kanegafuchi Pool, 063 depicts the confluence of the Ayasegawa River on the opposite bank from Shioiri Park in Arakawa Ward, where the Sumida River makes a sharp curve. Please first check its location from a modern map. I added a red gradient to Hiroshige's viewpoint. The Sumida River, winding its way from the upper left, turns a little to the north when it crosses the JR line, and then turns sharply to the right and heads south. At this point, the Ayasegawa River flows in from the northeast. The end of the river now meets the present-day Arakawa River, which has been greatly widened, but there was no Arakawa River in the Edo period. Here is a map from the Tempo period superimposed on the map. You can see the relationship between the Sumida River and the Ayasegawa River, although it is quite distorted. Let's superimpose a more solidly scaled map of the early Meiji period on this one. The Ayasegawa River changed its course over time, and by this time had become a narrow river, flowing into the Sumida River, or Arakawa River at that time. The Ayasegawa River also merged with the Kanegawa River coming from Hiroshige around Kishigaya, and repeatedly overflowed every time there was a heavy rainfall. Because the course of the river changed so much, it was called the suspicious Ayasegawa River, which is said to have become the Ayasegawa River. There is also a theory that the river became the Ayasegawa River because the water flow undulated from side to side, making the river's course look like twisting threads of twine. In any case, this area was a perfect flooding source. The Ayasegawa River at this time had its headwaters in the Ukiyo-e, which until before the Edo period was the main stream of the Kanegawa and Arakawa rivers. Even today, the river, known as the former Arakawa River, flows through Okagawa and Konosu before emptying into the Nakagawa River east of Kishigaya. Part of this is the old Ayasegawa River. This map shows the flow of the river before Tokugawa Ieyasu entered Edo. The red lines are the Kanegawa River and the Arakawa River, which together flowed into Edo Bay. The shogunate initiated a plan to move the Tone River, which caused flooding in Edo, to the east, and the Arakawa River to the west. By the time Hiroshige painted this picture, the Kanegawa River had been gradually shifted eastward from the Nakagawa River to the Edogawa River, and finally diverted around Sat, so that most of the water would flow toward Choshi, as the Kanegawa River does today. So it was a tremendous construction project. Around Kumigaya, the Arakawa River was bent to the west, merging with the Ukiyo-e River and the Shinkajishi-gawa River, and renamed the Sumida River so that it would flow into Edo Bay. And this is the current state of the Kanegawa and Arakawa rivers. The Kanegawa River joins the Kanegawa and Ayasegawa rivers and flows almost entirely into Choshi. The Arakawa River joins the Ukiyo-e River and flows into Keisai as the Arakawa River, which has a large river width. Please see the map circa 1920. A plan was underway to divide the Arakawa River, which had flowed from Chikibu and had become the Sumida River, around Akabane where it joined the Shinkajishi-gawa River, and to discharge it as the Arakawa drainage channel to the Keisai area. As a result, the wandering Ayasegawa River was completely divided, and the river mouth depicted in Hiroshige's painting became a small channel connecting the Arakawa River and the Sumida River. In this map, the Ayasegawa River still remains as a waterway in the whitewashed Arakawa River discharge channel. Before it was divided here, the Ayasegawa River was so beautiful that fireflies were said to fly over it. However, as Japan entered a period of rapid economic growth, large amounts of domestic and industrial wastewater flowed into the river, and for 15 consecutive years from 1980, the Ayasegawa River was ranked as the worst first-class river in Japan in terms of water quality, and its name became well known throughout the country. The Ayasegawa River, now divided, flows along the Metropolitan Expressway Route 6 and empties into the Nakagawa River, which flows parallel to the Arakawa River. Let's take a closer look at Hiroshige's painting. The first thing that appears is a silk tree with fluffy pink flowers. This tree grows wild on the bank by Kanegafuchi, on the right side of the painting, and is famous for its blossoms, which people from all over Edo came to see before summer. In the composition, Hiroshige seems to have made the tree grow from the Shioiri side on the opposite side of the river. Below it, a white heron is depicted flying up. The waterfront in this neighborhood was a floodplain, so there were many wetlands with reeds. This made it an ideal feeding ground for waterfowl. The mouth of the Ayasegawa River can be seen below, and the Ayase Bridge is also depicted in a small size. Across the Ayasegawa River, Ukiyo-e no Sado is on the left, Kanegafuchi is on the right, and Ukiyo-e is behind it. The Sumida River extends in the foreground, and this area was called Kanegafuchi because a bell can was sunk here. It is said that Yoshimune, the 15th shogun of the Tokugawa shogunate, ordered the bell to be raised around the time of the Kyoho period, but gave up the idea because of the swirling water at the bottom of the river. A boatman on a raft is depicted on the river, standing poised and maneuvering the raft. At that time, there were many wholesale dealers in the Senju area who handled lumber brought in from upstream, bundling it into rafts and transporting it away as requested. Two cargo boats are depicted on the left, indicating that the Arakawa, or Sumida River, played an important role in the transportation of goods. Edo Meisho Zoo by Hasegawa Setsudan depicts the entire area from Hiroshige's point of view in a bird's eye view. The painting titled Kanegafuchi, Tancho no Ayasegawa shows that the area around Kanegafuchi was a sandbar and a famous spot for fireflies. Since Tancho is another name for firefly, fireflies must have been abundant in this area from the time when the flowers of the silk tree were no longer in bloom. Aoichi Tsuruya also painted this area in a similar composition. Enoda-jin, a government official, and his apprentice, who may have come from a Ryote restaurant in the nearby Mokubo-ji temple area, are bringing food to see the silk tree. In this area, flowers such as violets, bridegroom's head, clay pencils, and Nazunas bloom all at once in spring, and many people visited the area by boat. Kisai Rissho is composed in the same way as Hiroshige, but the silk tree grows from the right side. It is clear that the tree is from the Kanegafuchi side, but this is also a little too compositional. In 1926, Takahashi Shote painted a woodblock print of a night scene of the Ayasegawa River and Ayase Bridge in the snow. The painting is a wonderful depiction of an empty, quiet world, but as you can see on the map, the huge Arakawa River drainage project was steadily underway just upstream at the time. I found a photo of the Ayase Bridge from a period slightly before this. It is a collection of photos issued in 1919. I also found a photo, probably around the time Hiroshige painted it. It is thought to be a view from the mouth of the Ayasegawa River on the Kanegafuchi side, looking in the direction of Hiroshige's viewpoint. In reality, the viewpoint is hidden by the sandbar. Now, I went to this place in modern times. This photo was taken from the top of the bank of Shioiri Park. In the center is the mouth of the Ayasegawa River, and the Metropolitan Expressway Route 6 runs over it. 300 meters from the mouth of the river meets the present-day Arakawa River. The left side of the river mouth is a shipyard. This is a photo looking downstream. The bridge at the end of the promenade is the Shioiri Bridge, to the left of which is Metropolitan Expressway Route 6, and behind it is the Metropolitan Shioiri Complex. This was planned as a firewall in case of emergency. This is a photo looking upstream from the bank. Beyond the Senju Ekpo no Cho apartments are Kaisei Kinoya Station and Tobuashita Station. This is a silk tree, which would have grown in abundance in this area at that time. I took this picture of one that was in the neighborhood. It produces fluffy flowers with pink tips before summer. I have actually tried to fit the current appearance into Hiroshige's painting. It is a symbolic painting that says that since Ieyasu first came to Edo, various developments have been carried out for the sake of human beings, and now it has turned into such a mess. The original Ayasegawa River, the mouth of which is blocked off by a road, is a mere connecting waterway surrounded by a huge spillway, with no place for even waterfowl, let alone fireflies, to live. It is also a place that makes one wonder what development for human beings is all about. This is truly a suspicious Ayasegawa River.